Alright, what's up guys, I'm back with another video. I just want to speak on Gamora a little bit. I know she did get some improvements, and since I've made videos on Gamora in the past and I brought her rank up to the top of the chain, I had a few people ask me to make a Gamora video. So since we got a recent update on her, I decided I would go ahead and actually speak about her a little bit, speak about the changes that Netmarble did, and speak about what I think she needs. So right now you guys are seeing my build that I have actually set on Gamora right now. Now she is rank 7 and I'm working on getting her up to rank 1. I just gotta work on her Eurus and get them to 6 stars. But nevertheless, this is the build that I have on her, and this is really the only way I find that she is a usable character. If she is not built really well, she will not be usable in most game modes, but I will speak down on that. Now my biggest issue with Gamora is that I always found that she lacked in the defensive compartment. She really can't take that many hits. She doesn't have any iframe, she doesn't have any shields, nothing like that. So she'll get hit every single time that your enemy makes an attack. Now, due to this, she wouldn't be able to survive in most game modes like World Boss against Thanos Infinity, or even against the other world bosses in modes like Shadowland, in Timeline Battle, and etc. She really couldn't survive too well, which is why you really had to gear her really well in order to get the most out of her. So what does Netmarble decide to do? They decide to change her 4th skill. Now they changed it completely. It used to be a little spin, now it is a complete iframe where she goes up in her jetpack with a gun. It does help, don't get me wrong, it really does help her. But it doesn't help her enough to make her a viable character. It doesn't help her enough to make her a usable character in most game modes. And in order to actually get any enjoyment out of her, you are going to have to build her really well. When Netmarble released the notes for this little update here, I was kind of taken by shock from it. I saw Ultron getting a lot of improvements, I saw a little improvement for Star-Lord, and then of course a little improvement for Gamora. Why they chose to do this, I don't know. Ultron actually got a boost that will make him a playable character. Gamora and Star-Lord just got tiny boosts, although Star-Lord already was sort of playable. He wasn't the best character, but you can use him to clear a Shadowland stage or a World Boss stage, something like that, not too hard. But Gamora was really unplayable. Now they made one little change to her and they announced that they were giving her an iframe. However, the iframe lasts about 2.5 to 3 seconds, so it really isn't that much. Of course, it has a cooldown time after that, which leaves her open and vulnerable all that time. Now, I'm not saying that every character should be in constant iframes or anything like that, but I do think that if they're gonna make changes to characters and if they're gonna actually buff older characters, I think they should actually make notable changes. They should actually be making those characters playable. I don't know what their thought process was on this. Maybe they're thinking of releasing a new uniform for Gamora, Star-Lord, and Ultron in the near future. However, that doesn't really make much sense as Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out not too long ago and they gave new uniforms for that. So I really don't know. But like I said, I do find it very stupid that they just gave one change to Star-Lord and Gamora, one skill buff, and that is it. Gamora has a lot of skills that you can kind of see an iframe being there, but there isn't actually an iframe. And what I mean by that is pretty much, if we look at her 5th skill here, you can see that it can easily, very easily be an iframed skill. It can very easily be a skill where she can't get hit. It can very easily, give her a short iframe. It doesn't have to be for the entire skill, it could just be every time she goes across. However, it would have made her much more playable. 2 iframes is definitely better than 1, and when you chain your skills in a rotation, it will allow for her to be not so vulnerable all the time. Now with the 1 iframe, she still kind of lacks in the defensive department to me. Her damage is not so bad, especially if you gear her well and put on a damage proc. Mine doesn't have a damage proc, but it's just because I have to make up for her lack of defense, so I had to go with an invincibility obelisk. Now, I don't know why they made one change to a skill. Like I said, it makes absolutely no sense to me. If you're gonna buff a character, buff them properly. Make them a playable character, make them a character that people will actually want to build, make them a character that people can actually talk about and, make videos on. That way it gets people into buying those uniforms and it gets people into working on those characters, because as it stands right now, I don't think anyone should be actually purposely working on Gamora, myself aside of course. That's just because I love her as a character and because, I have a big ego, so I want to bring her to rank 1. But like I said, I don't suggest anyone working on her that much. Maybe put her as a side character that you're going to use in Shadowland or something like that. But she does not stand a chance as being an actual playable character in most game modes. Now, one good thing that Gamora actually has is she's able to stun lock her opponent. Now this only comes in handy when you're against 1 or 2 opponents and you can group them together. However, when you have multiple opponents that you're going up against, it becomes useless. And when you're in a game mode like World Boss or World Boss Ultimate where you're unable to actually stun your opponent, it is completely useless there. But it is one good thing she has going for her for a mode like Shadowland, which is why I say if you're going to use her at all, she's just going to be on your Shadowland roster. She shouldn't be on your roster for anything else. If you take a look at this clip right here, I'm actually able to defeat Daredevil on Shadowland 430 with her because I had her, first of all, geared very, very well. And second, for the majority of the time, I was keeping Daredevil stun locked so that I was not able to take any damage because she is very weak, so she would only be able to take a couple hits from Daredevil. With all that being said, I just wanted to get the buff that she deserves, as many other characters in this game could really use a buff right about now, especially older characters. Star-Lord got a little buff, it does make him a bit playable, but there's a lot of characters in the game that really need a buff. We have Hulkling, for example, we have Jessica Jones, who is a character that's loved by so many, but she just lacks so much in this game, and I think she deserves much, much more than that. We do know Jessica Jones Season 2 is coming, so hopefully she does get improvements by that time. But like I said, Netmarble needs to work on buffing their characters, and they especially need to work on buffing their characters properly. I've dumped a lot of resources into Gamora, and I don't want to have to do that for other characters just because I want to make them playable and just because they're characters that I love and I want to play with them. If you're going to have characters that are so strong, you got to have everybody else be at least at a level that they can do some damage to them. Maybe not wipe them out, but they have to be able to at least get 1 or 2 hits on them before they go down. As it stands, Gamora cannot do that, Jessica Jones cannot do that, and many other characters in the game cannot actually do that. So Netmarble, really buff your characters, buff them properly, and bring justice to Gamora, because, you know, honestly, I'm kind of tired of all the characters that I love. Maybe they're not the face of the game, maybe they're not Spider-Man or Jean Grey and Wolverine that are really popular characters, but they're still popular characters among so many Marvel fans, and they deserve to be playable. They deserve to be characters that we can use in this game. I don't want to have characters that I can only use on story mode chapter 1. And I love those characters. I want them to be able to be used in World Boss. I want them to be able to be used in Shadowland and World Boss Ultimate. Sure, like I said earlier, it's not so realistic that they're the best characters in the game, that they're all top tier characters, every single character in the game, but they should at least be playable. And if you are going to buff them, they should be buffed properly, not get one little skill tweak that you think is going to attract people to that character, because it's really not going to work that way, and people are not going to be more attracted to a character just because you change one skill. We've seen in the past that Netmarble does listen to their community. A big example of that is the boycott. They kind of listened. They didn't take out the chest yet, but I do expect them to take it out in the coming update. However, I think that if we are vocal enough and if we voice our opinions, they will actually make buffs and changes to these older characters. We've seen that with Ultron. A lot of people wanted him buffed, and he got a pretty decent buff. It does make him playable now. So I think that if we are vocal with our opinions and we let Netmarble know that we actually want these changes, then they will actually come. As it stands, I don't see anyone ever saying on the forums, you know, buff up Gamora or buff up Jessica Jones. I see them saying, you know, buff Ultron, which he ended up getting a buff. So, you know, if there's a character that you love, if there's a character that you especially love and is very much so lacking in this game right now, I want you guys to go to the forum. Maybe it'll only be, you know, 50 people that watch this video. Maybe it will be 5,000, but I want you guys to go over to their forum, go over to the Mobirum, and let them know that you want those characters buffed. Let them know in your post, share it with people. If we could get hundreds of posts going, then they will for sure notice it. The message will get passed along, and they will pretty much have no choice but to buff their characters. I'm not saying, you know, go on a boycott and boycott Netmarble till they buff their characters, but just voice your opinion. Let them know that you want their characters buffed. Don't stand back and say, you know, let's let our characters slide down a hill because power creep keeps going higher and the old characters keep getting more forgotten about. But those are characters that so many people love. So just voice your opinion, be vocal about it, let them know. And if they see hundreds of posts about one character, they will take note and they will take action about that. When it's all said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are going to voice your opinions. I know I'm going to go right now and voice my opinion on the Moburum. Let them know of characters that I want to see buffed. Hopefully they do bring changes in the future and actually listen to us. But nevertheless, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Adios.
I've been fucking motion, popping pills, man, I feel just like a rock star.